I think it's pretty safe to say that when we examine the Skywalker saga, there's a handful of Star Wars fans that are either very much in tune with the Star Wars franchise or very much against it by Disney and Lucasfilm and what they have done with the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that we do know about Star Wars is that, of course, Kathleen Kennedy no longer has creative control for many of the projects in the early development phase, which I honestly think is a great move by Disney CEO Bob Chapek and the previous CEO Bob Iger. The fact that Kathleen Kennedy no longer has creative control over these new stories, I think, was a fantastic move. It really is a light at the end of the tunnel here. Now, the thing about Kathleen Kennedy is that there's no doubt about it that she's very incompetent as head of Lucasfilm, as the president of all things Star Wars. So, essentially, this is the problem that I have with Kathleen Kennedy, is that, in my opinion, she does not have a clue exactly what Star Wars really is. To the very core of what Star Wars really means to the fans, and exactly what it really is by definition. And George Lucas knows it best. He actually, explained this countless times, and I'm sure that you guys have heard the many interviews that George Lucas gave where he explains exactly what Star Wars really is. And Kathleen Kennedy, she really couldn't seem to really grasp exactly what that really was with the sequel trilogy. So, what's really intriguing is that now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are moving on to their new Star Wars universe, as well as their new Star Wars trilogy of films that will bring the fans into a new mythology. Now, it's noted that one of the big plans by Disney and Lucasfilm is to create a better future for Star Wars after the Skywalker saga, and now that it's over, things are indeed changing. However, during and after the premiere of Episode 9, many interviews were given to Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, where she was questioned about the production of the sequel trilogy, where it's explained that Kathleen Kennedy was questioned about the Star Wars community, where Kathleen Kennedy said that the fans don't really know Star Wars, and that the Star Wars fandom does not understand Star Wars to its fullest, as there is no source material for new eras and brand new mythologies to be told by Disney and Lucasfilm. It's explained that Kennedy states that fans don't understand Star Wars truly because there are no books, novels, and comics that tell the events in depth way before the prequels and way after the sequels. It's explained that Kathleen Kennedy also stated that they are developing a brand new Star Wars universe for the fans to the point where they will truly understand what Star Wars really is and exactly what it is capable of and where it can really go for new stories to be told endlessly. It's noted that Kathleen Kennedy also states that the sequel trilogy was just the beginning of developing brand new eras for Star Wars and more. So, the thing with Kathleen Kennedy here, this is the problem with Kathleen Kennedy, is that she states that the fans don't understand Star Wars. The reason being is because, in her mind, the fans don't understand Star Wars is because there's no source material. So, there is source material. It's actually called Star Wars Legends, and Legends is a thing back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Tons and tons of stories. I mean, a library's worth of Star Wars material that could just go on and fill up an entire library, right? So, this almost is very similar to her other statement where she said that there's no source material for Star Wars and how it kind of ties in with this by Kathleen Kennedy. It just shows us that she either does not understand Star Wars at all, or she knows exactly what she's doing, and that this is her way of pushing her own narrative. Now, thankfully, this was some time ago, and they no longer have Kathleen Kennedy as, a person who can control the creative decisions and the choices for these new projects and these new stories to come out in the near future. That's good news. So, the other thing here, though, however, is that Kathleen Kennedy is crafting the timeline of Star Wars. That's all she can really control right now is the roadmap and the business end. She cannot interfere with the creative choices. So, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that we are going to get a more positive route for Star Wars in the coming years. Whether you got TV shows, animated TV series, movies, you name it. I think that we're going to see a different side of Star Wars now that not only Bob Iger is out, but also that we have Kathleen Kennedy taking over, of course, the roadmap strictly and the business end more so than the creative end. So she can focus more on the business, which I don't think that she can really screw that up as much. I do believe that the marketing of The Rise of Skywalker was quite a disaster, in my opinion. That's just how I viewed things. There were way too many gaps in between here and there in the way that they marketed things. So, that being said, guys, I mean, like I say, I mean, I'm very excited to see, you know, what the future looks like now that Kathleen Kennedy no longer has creative control. But how she believes that the fans don't understand Star Wars is just completely insane. It just proves to us that she is very much, you know, out of touch with Star Wars, out of place with reality, and that's all I have to really say. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.